So our key measurements are definitely engagement.
Mhm.
That's a huge one for us because it's important to everything that we do. Like, are our employees engaging with our organization? Are they reading the messages? What kind of messages are they reading? So very much our measurement tools look at things like engagement, and we get that largely from Google Analytics. I'm largely a storyteller, and even when I was in high school, there was just something about writing and learning from other people and just really getting fresh perspectives that really inspired me to initially go into journalism. And I did my master's in journalism, and I worked at some newspapers, some dailies for a few years. And then I was really more interested in the communication side of things. So it still enables me to tell stories and meet people and get perspectives. But it's a little less time consuming when it comes to working all those hours when you're a journalist. When I first started my job working for Brisbane City Council, we actually used data to understand if people were actually reading the flyers that were sent out. So being a council, we had to send all sorts of notifications, letting people know not to use water or, that there is resources available to them. So the data that we used was very helpful in understanding if people are actually reading what we're sending. So we basically started with surveys and just understanding what was read, what was interest, if it needed to be long or short. So that was face-to-face surveys. And so that was quite time-consuming, but it was a really great way of understanding the data of what people are reading. Analytics that I take to my management are actually largely around the company intranet. And it's actually fascinating for me because I can often create content and then I look at the analytics and I realize people aren't actually reading that type of content. So basically, in terms of page views, it's the data through the analytics has given us an amazing way of understanding the interests of our employees. So there's two main data sources that we use too, which is Google Analytics, as well as we have a system called Polite Mail, where it actually looks at all of our emails that come through. And that gives us an extremely broad understanding of how engaged our employees are, how long they're spending on the page, things like how are they actually reading it, those kind of basics. So it really segments everything that we send to them and just provides us with really invaluable data. So our key measurements are definitely engagement.
Mhm.
That's a huge one for us because it's important to everything that we do. Like, are our employees engaging with our organization? Are they reading the messages? What kind of messages are they reading? So very much our measurement tools look at things like engagement, and we get that largely from Google Analytics. We do a campaign at LA Care every year, which is called our Employee Engagement Survey. And that is a survey that goes to everyone within the organization, so around 2,000 people. We ask a range of questions, and it's just fascinating understanding how people are at, like what they're at in terms of, do they support the management? Do they like the kind of content that we're producing? And also open-ended questions, which I think are also very valuable, not only to understanding our employees, but just in general as a weather vane for where they're at. Um, that's a key campaign, and often we get around 95% in terms of the actual metrics from the employees. So, I mean, I think that that's a really great measurement tool and response for an organization as diverse as ours. One particular insight that we really received from the annual employee engagement survey was just that people were particularly interested in and wanting to really have more work done when it comes to diversity, inclusion, and equality. So that really came up, that we needed to do more work as an organization in terms of providing opportunities that were equitable, having groups, like, for example, having affinity groups where people can really feel that kind of belonging to the organization and discuss their specific needs and how they want to be treated. So that was a really key insight, especially after George Floyd and the nationwide protests. That really came to the surface from our survey, that we need to do more, and we've really put that into action. We now have an equity steering committee. We have a range of different councils that support diversity, equity, and inclusion, and it's just been a great insight, just knowing that's come directly from the data that we collected in the annual employee engagement survey. Well, I think at least over the last, I would say 5 years, we have been offered just a huge range of tools that have never been accessible before. So they're so sophisticated as well. Like I mentioned, we can actually see if an audience is engaged by a single email or a single page. So I think that we're definitely heading in the right direction. And I think more refinement of those kind of tools, for example, being able to find out engagement, how long someone's spending on the page, if they just skimmed it or if they actually read it. I think those tools are so insightful and valuable. And I think if we continue in that kind of fashion, just more refining and more sophistication, then I think that is definitely the right way to go in terms of the kind of data that is available. Sometimes we can survey people, but we don't actually understand what they actually mean. So I think more work around, say, for example, if someone said that they disliked the email for some reason, they responded, just having more insight into why. Mm-hmm. I think it's those kind of questions, and data can be, a yes or a no. But I think if we can have just more understanding around why it's a yes or a no, or why they engage with that and not something else, I think that those kind of aspects would be even more valuable to have. I think it's definitely going to grow in importance. I think that we've started something. Like COVID has, as much as it's been extremely difficult and a very, very difficult time for so many people, it's kind of like changed communication. And we've gone to virtual teams, we've gone to hybrid workplaces or 100% remote in place, like that's every day. So I think it's also leveled the playing field too. So there's less differentiation between the management and the leadership team and the employees. We've kind of found this middle ground. So I think definitely it's going to grow in importance throughout these next few days and years and months. I would say listen to your elders. Listen, as much as I think that the new generation is so empowered and they have so much to give, I really feel like we can also learn from the people that have worked in the communications or journalism field for 10, 20 odd years. There's so many learnings and ideas that have been used before. So I think it's really about listening and understanding and making sure that you don't just come into a workplace and think that you can suddenly implement all of your new ideas. Like, try listening, working together, and I think, and just understanding the flow of the organization too. That's really key.